Hi, folks. My name is Dr. Demars, and this is a welcome video that is going to talk about expectations for this course. What is this course? It's Biology 3134 in the second mini master, summer 2023. Welcome. I look forward to working with you. This video is unique in that we will have very little other work that's kind of like this. This is going to be the only time where you have to watch a video that's about an hour long, and it's me talking at you using PowerPoint slides. We'll talk about why I don't like to do that, but I do feel the need to try to get some buy-in into why the course is designed the way that it is. If you look on my Rate My Professor, folks either love working with me or hate working with me. And, I'm not expecting that you're going to love this, but I do want you to appreciate, again, why the course is designed the way that it is. I want to be very transparent. I want to explain to you why I do what I do, so that you can, maybe you don't agree with it, but you can see my reasoning behind, right, the course design. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, folks, is share with you an assignment that you've got to complete in addition to, right, this annotating this video in perusal. It is annotating the syllabus and some other documents also in perusal. And I got some tips here about how to do the annotations, okay? As far as like what you should be doing as far as having thoughtful questions, starting the reading early, breaking it into chunks so that you're not doing everything all at once, right? Posting thoughtful questions and comments, right? And upvoting, okay? So here you're gonna see kind of the assignment introduction, but I'm gonna close that. And now let's say, you're tasked with reading the syllabus, right? Or the textbook, which is what you will be doing, right? Kind of moving forward. And maybe you have a question about something, maybe a comment about something. What you do is you would highlight it, and then immediately this conversation right box comes up for you to be able to make a comment. So it really is just that easy. Now, some folks, because it's so easy, overlook some other options on the platform and get real frustrated with the platform because of the following reason, right? So, I've highlighted something, I'm putting in my comment. Everyone's highlights and comments are going to be on this document. And, so it might be hard to try to highlight something because it's already been highlighted. So students complain about that. So the solution, again, if you just kind of look here, right, the default is all comments under this drop down, but if you put no comments, then you can just put in your work and you're not distracted by those other folks' comments. Some folks like to, they like to do their own work first and then look at what other people have to say. But that's certainly not the only strategy. But if you do want those comments to kind of disappear, that is the control, right? Drop down menu. You can have them disappear, reappear, etc. So I encourage you to play around with the platform before you poo-poo the platform, which is kind of what has happened with some other students. So we don't want that. Okay, so let's look at this course. It is online asynchronous in this mini master, as we have been talking about. There's some deal breakers, okay, that we need to talk about. You absolutely have to have the text through perusal. That is the only way to have the textbook, okay? Full stop, that's it. No substitutions. Same thing with Top Hat. Gotta have Top Hat. Nothing, no substitutions there. My understanding is that the access that you will need is free. And then, of course, through Folio, right? The course website, everything through Folio. Always start with Folio. Go to other places after starting with Folio. Everything through Folio, you might run into some trouble. So start with Folio. Folio will take you to Perusal, or Folio will take you to Top Hat. Okay, but start with Folio. Okay, so if you want to look at the grading, right, I know I got it right here at the beginning of the syllabus because I know that's what students care about. You can see that there are a number of assignments, assessments, and quizzes and tests, right, and how much each is worth here. We'll talk a little bit more about grade breakdown in a minute. I do want to move and talk about academic honesty first and foremost. This is an online asynchronous class, and y'all, I'm not dumb. I know what goes on, and especially since the pandemic, people's sort of perceptions about what's acceptable and unacceptable behavior have changed. Okay, but what I'll let you know is that my policies are my policies, and I say what I mean here. So it is always a good idea to make sure you know which resources you can and can't use for which assignments, because I take academic honesty very seriously, and I will elevate violations, and encourage that learning happens, education happens, but also I'll do my best to try to make a fair learning environment for those of you who want that. Okay. So let me just take a minute and ask you to do a little bit of self-reflection. Who are you? Are you the kind of person that's trying to look, how to hack this class? Are you watching this video right now? Or do you have 5 other things going on and you're just playing it because you need to for a grade? Okay, let's think about who you are and what kind of person you want to be in this class. Maybe instead of thinking about, well, how could I hack this? How could I cheat? How could I not learn and instead do all these other things? Right? What's the minimum? What's the least I can do to be successful? Wouldn't it be fun to maybe reframe that and think, what's the most I could do? What's the most learning that I could do in this course? If you reframe things that way, I guarantee you'll be successful. I often see a lot of students trying so hard not to learn. Okay, they're trying all these other things. Okay, when they could just take that energy and learn the material. And wow, it's easier that way, just to get that buy-in and acceptance of, okay, this might take a little bit of hard work, but I know this now. Okay, so please don't cheat in this course. I went to 8 years of grad school so that I could bring a wealth of experience to you. I've been teaching for 13 years. Also that I can help you meet your academic and career goals, not to think about all the ways that people could cheat and try to catch them. I'm not interested in that. Okay. So you're going to hear this refrain a lot from me, folks. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay. Could you get away with cheating on a quiz or a test? I mean, maybe. Okay. But do you want to be that kind of person? Like I said, take a moment, reflect. Who are you? Are you a cheater? Even copying one answer for one quiz question out of, the hundreds that you're going to get asked, it makes you a cheater. Is that the kind of person you want to be? What if everyone knew that about you, right? Maybe you might make a different decision. I'm just asking you and pleading with you. I'm sick and tired of trying to catch the cheaters. Okay. Why don't we all just, do what we're supposed to do here? Okay. And be grown-ups and mature about it and do some hard work, right? And do some learning and maybe have some fun while we're at it. Okay. So please don't cheat. All right, the other thing I want to talk about is kind of flexibility that is inherent or built into the structure of online asynchronous courses. There are going to be final deadlines when work is due, to account for those of you that have a lot going on in your lives, which I know many of you do. I know many of you have care responsibilities, children, elderly, etc. Kind of care responsibilities. Maybe you're working, which I hope you're not during a summer mini semester. But I understand you're juggling a lot, many of you. And so there is some flexibility, okay, as far as there being these kind of big final deadlines for a lot of work to be due. However, those deadlines are firm. Okay. I opened up the cap on this course to allow students like you into it. And there are enough students now that I just cannot have multiple exceptions and changes and things for all the students all the time. I just can't do that. That's just not possible. Okay. And so right now at the beginning of the semester, the mini-mester, right? Basically the month, consider what potential problems might come up. And if you think there's a pretty high probability that there's going to be problems, maybe you ought to take this course in a regular semester. Okay. Because the second part of this, right, not only is there some flexibility, but with firm deadlines, it's a mini master. The pace is very fast. Okay. There is no time for makeup or catch up or any of that. It is, we are in a race car and we are speeding down the track. Now, the sort of another side of that is just for your learning, some of you may not be able to keep up with that pace, and that's okay. That's why this class is also offered during a regular semester. It is okay if you need longer to digest material to meet your potential. It is okay to be somebody who does not work well under this accelerated format. That is fine. It doesn't mean you can't learn it. You just need a little bit more time. And that's a lot of you out there. Okay. A lot of students I've worked with. Yes, you need a little bit more time. Okay. If that's you, again, you might want to think about taking this course in another format. Okay. But if you do not foresee any problems, and if you like total immersion and a fast pace, and then we're done, then the summer mini master is for you. So please, take some time to consider if you should be in this class. Again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. All right. So again, if you're having, kind of a consistent amount of trouble, meeting these deadlines or, completing this work, I would suggest that you reach out to the Dean of Students office. That's what they're there for. They're there to advocate for you and help you. So let's say right now you don't foresee any trouble, but all of a sudden, I don't know, you get laid off, or you're in a terrible car accident, or, your mother has a stroke or something, sort of life changing that makes it so that you're just unable to be to meet these deadlines in the course. That's what the Dean of Students office is there for. They are there to work with you, to advocate for you, to help you so that you don't harm your academic record, if something is really going on with you. All right, you can read the rest of this syllabus. There's a lot in here. Okay, there's a lot of policies. Every single one is important. So there's a quiz, which we'll talk about why. I assign grades to everything that's important, because otherwise students don't take it seriously. So you can see lots of policies. Here we have exam dates, and then here is our detailed schedule. And one thing that I want to point out on the detailed schedule here is, I know it seems like a lot, okay? But once you kind of understand and participate in the flow of activities, you'll see that there's a lot of repetition and it doesn't change. So there are modules, that are associated with exams. For our first exam, here, that's coming in about a week, there are 4 modules to prepare for that. The welcome module that you're participating in right now is just to help you get ready. None of this material is going to be on the test, okay? But exam 1, module 1, exam 1, module 2, etc. That module grouping will help you prepare for exam 1. And then you can see after exam 1 is over, we dive right back in. We have exam 2, module 1, etc. And in each module, you will see, except for this one, that there is a reading assignment, followed by a reading quiz, followed by a set of sort of class activities that are immersive and hands-on and require your participation. Okay, we'll talk about why. And then a review quiz. So reading assignment, reading quiz, class activities, review quiz. Reading assignment, reading quiz, class activities, review quiz, etc. until the test. And then we do it for another set of modules. You notice that the submission date and time, this is that final kind of deadline. And you notice, for the modules associated with exam 1, it's the Monday night, 11:59 p.m. before the exam opens that Tuesday. Now, that is the hard deadline. That is inflexible. Okay, it is unmoving. But that doesn't mean that's the deadline you should work with. I do have suggested dates here to help provide structure so that you can stay on task and stay on pace with the course. Now, I get it. Maybe, you're not going to be able to keep to this exact schedule, but try to your best of your abilities. I've only listed weekdays here. I get it. Maybe you need to work more on the weekend days. That's fine. Okay. But, just because this final deadline over here is 11:59 p.m. right before the test, that does not mean that's when you should be working on this material. Okay, the suggested dates should help keep you organized appropriately. Okay, after the syllabus and the course policies, there's some information here about self-regulated learning, just a real quick reading. And yeah, in an online asynchronous course, self-directed learning is going to be really important. Okay, again, I provide you suggested dates, but it's up to you to get that work done in an appropriate kind of management of time. All right. So again, I think that, this should be helpful, right, to kind of set your expectations and your perspective for this course. And then I have a list of tips here that I usually provide my in-person classes. So most of this is going to apply to you, but maybe some won't. But these are tips from me, right, to help you be successful. They're specific. Okay. So, this is me telling you how to be successful. Okay. As well as this hour-long video that I'm making right now. And then lastly, there's a lot of pages of student comments. What are these? At the end of the semester, I ask students, pretend time travel is possible. If you could go back and talk to yourself at the beginning of the course, what would you say? Okay, and so while they were pretending to talk to their former selves with these comments, they're really talking to you. And so here's a lot of straight advice from students. I didn't change anything. I just copied and pasted. And I think it's worthwhile to go through and look at what students have to say here about their course experiences. And that's what this document is, okay? And you will, annotate it. And don't forget there is a quiz. Now what I'm going to do, folks, is I am going to share with you kind of a set of PowerPoint files that I'll lecture from. Again, I promise this is pretty much the only time I'm going to do this, especially for this extended period of time. Okay, but to really, again, try to let you know why I do what I do, so that, again, hopefully I can convince you to just do this instead of trying to do all these other behaviors that are counterproductive to your learning and thus your success. I'm always going to provide you learning outcomes, reading learning outcomes, and then student learning outcomes for the actual sort of class activities and quizzes and exams. And I got learning outcomes even for this little talk that I'm giving, even though, again, this is not on the test. Okay, but these learning outcomes serve as roadmaps, and you can consider them your study guides. Okay, obviously not this list, but any other list of learning outcomes you're provided, that's your study guide. Okay, so let's go ahead and define and clarify expectations. I just want to go ahead and say, I know that there are some students that come into the course, any course with me, viewing me as, the enemy. Like, oh, I got to get past this lady in order to move on to the next thing. I really want to encourage you to reframe, if that's you, to think of me as your ally. I want you to be successful. I want everybody in this class to earn an A, and earn an A, right, is key there. This stuff is hard. It's cell molecular biology, right? I mean, my husband didn't graduate college, and, I tell him, about some of the stuff I do, and he's like, I don't want to hear that. That's too hard. Right? I mean, maybe you feel that too when you talk to your friends and family about some of the, what you're doing. They're like, cell molecular biology, what is that? That sounds ridiculous. And it is, but that's okay. It doesn't mean you can't do it. You can. I believe in you. Georgia Southern believes in you. You wouldn't be at this university. You wouldn't be in this course if, you couldn't be successful. All right. You can. Now, right? It may not be straightforward, and it may not be easy, and it may not be in a way that you're accustomed to being successful, but you can be, and I want you to be. I want you to hear that. Okay, so let me tell you why I don't just lecture off PowerPoints, because it's not good teaching, okay? Especially if somebody, and if this has happened to you, I'm sorry, you have been cheated out of your money. If somebody has given you a list of things for you to memorize and just spit back, and they've oversimplified these nuanced, complex topics, right? If someone has done that to you, that's a waste of time. That's a game. That's I don't know what that is, but that's not learning. Okay. I don't want you to memorize a bunch of stuff, because what does that mean? That means that you cannot solve unstructured problems, which is why you are in college. And we're going to do a lot of talking about that in a minute. A lot of you want to be physicians, or, some kind of healthcare related field. And we are puzzles that, do not always, follow a set set of rules. Okay. You may make plans for something, and those you may not be able to follow through on those plans because things change in the moment and you've got to react and deal with that. So think about those. We're going to talk a lot about career goals, right? I don't want you to be incompetent at your job. I want you to be able to do the hard things. Okay. And I'm not just going to sit and talk at you the way that I am right now, because I don't know what you're thinking. Right. I'm putting this video up on Perusal so y'all can annotate it and tell me, because I'm like, wow, this video is great. And y'all might be thinking, no, it is not. But I don't know that unless I get you involved, unless I hear from you. Okay. And so this course is very interactive, and it's going to make you feel vulnerable at times because you're going to show things you don't know. And we don't always celebrate that in academics, right? We don't celebrate the mistakes. We don't celebrate, oh, you struggled and it took you a while to solve that problem. Yay, you solved that problem. You learned how, you made mistakes and you learned from them. Great job. Instead, we feel this shame of like, oh, I didn't solve it right away. I didn't get it right away. I don't want that to be the paradigm in our class. Okay. So I am asking you to be vulnerable, but we will be celebrating the struggle, right? The mistakes as we progress through the learning process. All right, so I'm sure you've heard, let's go to college to practice some critical thinking skills. Well, what are critical thinking skills? Well, let's talk to those educational scientists, because, I'm a scientist. I like to talk to other scientists. They have, there's this, Dr. Bloom, right, has come up with what we call Bloom's taxonomy. And it is a way to categorize what we can do with our learning, what our cognitive skills are, okay? And, you're like, wait a minute, I did not think this was an educational right psychology class. It's not. Okay, just this little bit is. And again, it's to show you why I do what I do with the course. What are critical thinking skills? It's doing these upper level kind of Bloom's taxonomy types of activities, right? Not just memorizing a fact and spitting it back out, but really understanding something, being able to take a really complex cellular system and analyze it and kind of figure out what all the parts are doing. What would happen if something was screwy, right? Maybe there's a mutation in a particular gene that leads to a gene product that doesn't function right in the lysosome. So now we have a lysosomal storage disease. Okay. We can't just memorize, right, in order to understand these complex cell and molecular biology topics. So we're going to be pushing up that Bloom's taxonomy some. And again, I got to get you involved. So this is one of my favorite sayings, people who do the work, do the learning. I often hear this, Dr. Mars, I didn't do so well in the exam. I want to do better. How do I get a better grade? Well, I want big muscles. I want to be thin, but I don't want to go to the gym and I don't want to diet. I don't know why we think learning is going to be any different from, this example of bodybuilding or the example I used of dieting. It's hard work and it's not always pleasant. And learning, I hope you are going to be tired after you engage with the materials in this course, because that means that your brain is changing neuronal connections and you're making your brain stronger and smarter in that way. And it's going to take hard work. It doesn't happen by magic. I can't just plug information into the back of your head. I wish, right? That'd be kind of cool to all of a sudden learn how to fly a helicopter. Anyway, right? We can't, it's going to take some hard work. Okay. So again, more talk to you. I'm human. I get it. I have procrastinated until it is 11:20 the night before this class starts. I procrastinated until the very last minute in order to make this video. And so we're human. I understand. We're going to avoid, going to the gym. We're going to avoid the diet. We're going to have a cheat day, right? I get it. Those are very human, right? Wants and human kind of desires, tendencies. I'm going to try to prevent those kind of decisions from happening. I'm going to prevent you from, not doing the work you need to do to be successful in the course. I'm going to make you do it. Okay. I've designed this course to kind of save you from yourself, right? And I say that with all the empathy in the world. I'm human. I get it. It's very human to want to do the least amount that is possible. Okay. It's very human to wait till the very last minute to do things. But again, I'm not going to really let you get away with that in this course. There's going to be a lot of structure to prevent that. But while things are very structured, I have have designed a lot of support for you as well. So again, the idea is, even though this is an online asynchronous course, I'm here, right? And there's a lot. As the kids say, it's a little extra, but I think that's what we need to be successful in this course. I believe in you. Okay. Again, more of my sort of expectations. Again, we're not just going to memorize some concepts. And even if you don't get your degree, you're spending time in my class, and I want you to practice skills that's going to help you in the workforce. And so we're going to practice some employable skills in this class. And remember, you're here because you want to learn. I have the learning, right? Like, you can tell from the stupid pieces of paper I have on my office wall, right, that I have this learning. It's not about me though, it's about you. And you and your learning. And so I'm not going to stand up and lecture and you passively watch and feel good about it because I explained something really, really well. That's not learning. It's you getting involved, being vulnerable, getting messy, right? And changing and trying and maybe crying. I don't know. But I'm right there with you every step of the way. I'm your guide, but you are the star of this show. And definitely, what you get out of it is what you put into it, right? Those people that are hacking and cheating, they're not going to get a lot out of this course. I'm going to make it so that you're prepared for your learning, doing reading assignments and reading quizzes. We have very engaging, interactive, challenging, kind of think of that brain workout, as far as class activities. I want you to understand that, yes, I have designed the course in the way that I have, and I'm asking students to follow that design, but ultimately it's up to you to navigate that. You're in control of your own learning. There is an internal locus of control, is what we call that. Your learning, right, is dictated by you. And, if there are problems, stop trying to point the finger outward and maybe start pointing the finger inward. And again, that's hard to do. We humans don't like to face those hard truths sometimes. And I expect students to embrace a growth mindset. What does that mean? That means that if things aren't going the way that I want them to, I need to be willing to change. Again, that's that internal locus of control. The material is the material is the material. The course design is the course design. The course design. Dr. DeMars is Dr. DeMars. You can't change any of that. You can change you. And, embracing this idea of a growth mindset, that maybe you don't have these concepts down pat yet, is key. This idea of yet. Okay. That really speaks to, someone who thinks that way really speaks to them having a growth mindset. Okay, so you are not alone in this class. Who are your resources? Me, you, your peers. And even though this is an online asynchronous course, and let me be very clear, your grade is earned only by you. There's no formal group work associated with grades. You will interact with each other, right, in that social learning platform perusal. You're going to read the textbook and make those annotations, but you have the opportunity to interact with people and use that little @ symbol to tag them and directly kind of go back and forth, still in an asynchronous format, right? Someone will write something, hours later, you'll write something, they might respond, etc. But again, you're not alone, right? That is going to be your learning community. And I have seen some beautiful partnerships and friendships kind of blossom from this learning platform. It also allows those of you who are shyer, right, to really express yourself in the online environment. Okay. If that's you, then you take advantage of it. All of us, I really want to hear what you have to say. And also in Top Hat, right? Again, all that work is going to be very interactive. There's going to be a series of questions, activities. I mean, again, little small snippets of me talking to you in a video with some PowerPoint slides, but small, short, not like this. And then I'm always getting you involved. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And not only is my presence there in that way, with all those questions that you'll be asked and, to complete, if you're wrong, when you're wrong, because you will be, because you're going to make mistakes, natural part of the learning process. I tell you, hey, why don't you try looking at the third sentence of the second paragraph on page 527 to see the answer to this question, right? So that's me trying to help you, guide you to the textbook resource and have you then correct your own misconception, let's say. So again, I am there. I am everywhere. Okay, so hopefully we've clarified expectations. What I want to do right now is I want you to think about, to look at this list of topics for the course and think about what excites you or what scares you or what you're not interested in or what looks kind of cool. Or I didn't think we were going to talk about that in this class, or what even is exocytosis? Well, take a few moments and think about, right, this course topic list, and try to kind of think about the next month of your life and what we're going to be talking about during that month. And you can pause the video, you can put in comments now anytime during the video, right? And just again, let me know what you're thinking, what excites you, etc. What are you thinking about this list of topics? Okay, now what we're going to do, folks, and again, I don't think my goals here are going to be very subtle. My point here isn't going to be very subtle. But let's just think about, I hear all the time, folks are like, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a PA. And yet I don't really see them very engaged in the class. I don't see them trying as hard as they could. And I just start wondering to myself, well, what if that person went to a PA and learned that PA had that kind of attitude when they were in the cell and molecular biology class? I mean, what would you feel? Right in that moment? I know that I had that experience when I was in grad school, and again, for biochemistry and molecular biology, and I needed to see an orthopedist. I had some foot problems. And so the fellow was like, asking me about who I am, what I was doing. And I told him I was in grad school and what for. And he goes, biochemistry, that was the hardest class in med school. I didn't do very well in that class. Do you think I went back to that fella? Nope. So again, I hear this a lot, like C's earn degrees, but really, is that the kind of student that you want to be? Is that the kind of professional that you want to be? And we're going to talk more about the C's earned degrees and kind of what is out there for you, as far as, you may get a degree, but what about your jobs? And what kind of jobs are out there? Here's some data, and we'll dig a little bit more into these data in a minute. But these are from the Department of Labor, and it's talking about projections as far as where the growth in jobs is, what kind of jobs are growing in number and what are not, and what are actually declining in number. And one of the things I want to talk about before we even get to the jobs is these qualifying exams that exist. So here's a sample question from the MCAT. And some of you in the course are pre-med. And, some folks get real frustrated with some of the questions I ask on exams. And I'm like, listen, folks, this is what's coming. I'm just helping get you ready. Here's an MCAT. This isn't even the question, folks. This is a bunch of information that needs to be digested. Okay, for then not one, but two questions are then asked about this, the stem of information. And some of the, certainly not all, but some of the questions on my exams are going to look like this. So I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you get ready for these preparatory exams for those careers, right, that you want. So I get it. Maybe I'm not pre-med. Okay, well, maybe you're looking into a graduate program. Okay, you're going to need to take the GRE. Look at this question and the reading comprehension that is required to answer this question correctly. Okay, and look at these questions here. These are other challenging questions that ask you to analyze data and look at which statements are true in a list, and more than one could be correct. The design of my questions is to, again, help prepare you for these preparatory exams that are ahead of you based on your career goals, and for the careers, right, that are growing, those jobs that are going to be needed in the future. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about motivations right now. All of these in this list here are legitimate motivations. Absolutely, I respect all of them as motivations. And there's no way for you to put like A, B, C, or D. I don't care about that. I want you to just think to yourself, okay, what your choice here would be as far as the motivation that would lead to the most lasting learning. If you need a second, pause the video. And I'll tell you what I think. Okay. I mean, all of these things are, like I said, motivations, legitimate motivations. I would say the most lasting learning, it's something you love, an intrinsic love of the material. I mean, that's going to stick with you, right? I can't change that. I cannot change whether or not you give a hoot about, a particular enzyme or class of enzymes. I can't change that. But what I can do is show you the value. I can try to provide an appreciation for why we study what we study, in this course and how it can relate to you. And that can still lead to, according to those educational, psychologists, that does lead to lasting learning. Okay. These other things are important too, and they're part of the motivation of what we do. But again, C and D, those are going to lead to the most lasting learning. And at this point, when we're talking about those grades, right, I just want you to be honest. Would you do coursework that does not have an immediate grade assigned to it? And you don't need to share. You can keep that to yourself, but be honest with yourself and think about that. Why do I ask this question? Well, I have some data because I'm a scientist. I'm going to look for the data. I have some data to, support that. Again, it's human not to, right? 80% of students don't do reading assignments if there's not a grade associated with it. 80%, most of us don't. 20% of us do, okay? But 80% don't. And the reading is really important. We just saw how important it is, right? To have good reading comprehension and challenging scientific information. Again, maybe you'll see why everything has a grade associated in this class. I'm setting the tone for that real talk coming at you in a minute. All right, so let's talk a little bit now about how we learn, and I have a little bit of an activity. One of the things that I find disappointing is that folks come in and they have low self-esteem about their success in this course, and maybe even in biology in general, or maybe even just at college. And I hate that. I want to try to build some self-esteem right now. So what I want you to do is think about something you're really good at, because you are good at least one thing, if not many things. Okay, you are good at something, and I want you to think about well, how did you get good at that? Like, how did you become an expert or skilled at what you did? And I want you to think about how you would teach, right, a friend or family member or stranger, right, how to do that particular activity. One of the things, I've heard students say, there's this one student, she talked about doing her nails. Pandemic hit and she couldn't go to the nail salon. So she did some YouTube videos and she learned how to do her nails. And that was a really cool thing. Another student shared that she was really good at riding motorcycles. And I thought that was really cool. And, some students talk about they're really good at cooking or baking, all different kinds of things. I asked them and you to think about how you would teach that skill to somebody, and how you would tell if they were successful or not. I mean, I think the nail thing, the motorcycle thing, the baking thing, right? It's pretty obvious, right? If these skills are improving, okay? And I don't think, again, my message here is too subtle. How would you expect that person you're trying to teach, how would you expect them to get better? You're going to need practice, right? I mean, you need to do your nails more than once. You need to ride that motorcycle more than once. And I get it. Like, sometimes when things don't come easy, right? As humans, we think, I'm never going to get this, right? And even if you try your hardest and you still fail, it's so frustrating and you just want to give up. It's very natural. But, you probably have felt that way at some point about this activity or skill that you're good at. And so, my idea here is, just don't give up. Okay. Keep practicing, maybe change what we're doing. But please, right, I believe that you can be good as a cell molecular biology student in this course, and it's going to be hard and you're going to need to practice. But again, you're not doing it alone. And I do believe you can do it. You just may not be as good as you want to be yet. There's that yet word. Okay. So let's talk about, right, learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube. And maybe you know how to do this. I do not. Good on you if you do. If you do know how to solve this Rubik's Cube, pretend for a minute you don't. And let's all think about, if you need to pause the video, you can. How would you prefer, right, to solve the Rubik's Cube? And again, you do not need to put your answers in. All right. You don't need to do that. You don't need to put C. Okay. But do think about it. All right. I'll let you know, for me, I would prefer, I'm lazy and I'm a bit of a hermit. So I would probably want to watch a video alone. Right. I don't even have a Rubik's Cube, I don't think. And I wouldn't want to go out and buy one, and I would watch a video, and that might be the way I do it. But you know what? That's probably not going to lead to me being able to do it nowadays, right? Do it right now, much less in a month, 6 months, 6 years. Okay, so obviously, I think right? Being a human and hands-on learners. Okay. E is going to be, right, the best way to learn how to do something is practicing with somebody who knows how to do something. So you get the practice, but then you have a guide. And again, I don't think my message here is terribly subtle. That's what this course is going to be. I'm going to make you practice, but I'm here to help you. And again, we're humans, we're hands-on learners. Okay. And, when we're thinking about cell molecular biology, hopefully, again, we understand that cramming the night before an exam is not going to lead to any kind of deep learning, but engaging with all of the course materials is going to help us not just learn, but with that learning comes that good grade. Because again, if we don't really understand something, but maybe we just hack our way through it, we might be able to do that one thing. But what about other related, more challenging things, right? And in this case, what if a friend came up to you and was like, cool, man, what about this? Okay, that looks a little bit more challenging. Or what about these? Like you need to understand, right, how you're able to solve that Rubik's Cube in order to, try to solve these related but more complicated problems. Okay, because that's what's going to happen when you are a physician or when you are a wildlife biologist out in the field. There are going to be problems that arise that you need to solve that are not necessarily what you anticipated. Okay, and that's why we are here. And especially nowadays, oh my gosh, AI, right, coming for your job. It's getting real, folks. So I want you to be able to have a job that's protected from AI. I want you to be able to solve problems. This is what those critical thinking skills are, these higher level Bloom's taxonomy, right, types of skills that we talked about earlier. Sort of what can we do with our own learning? Right, what kind of skills do we have? Can we evaluate, right? Can we analyze a complex cellular process into, right, its component parts and understand why that lysosomal storage disease, right, develops? Okay, so, right, we have talked a little bit about Bloom's taxonomy now. Okay, and if we're thinking about artificial intelligence, I want you to think about what AI can do. And this is getting a little scary. Okay. Because maybe AI can do all of it, maybe not some of it well. But the chat GPI, right, that's trying to create language that's makes sense. Right. So, but what has AI been able to do? Think about what you've got in your house or on your device. I mean, for me, it's Alexia. I don't want her to talk to me right now. And typically, right, that kind of AI can just sort of regurgitate facts, right? Which is what this question here that's asking about a model organism, the scientific name of a model organism that happens to be a worm. That's just a fact, right? And where does that map to on that Bloom's taxonomy? It maps to just remember. You don't even have to understand. You don't even have to know what a worm is. But, right, we can match symbols, and I remember this, the C. elegans, I remember that matches to worm. Those are the same things. Okay, so that's a really low level Bloom's taxonomy. This example question that you could get in the course isn't necessarily just remembering, unless I gave you this exact same scenario and then asked for it on the test, which I'm not going to do. In this case, right, what are we looking at? We're looking at the structure of urea, and it is bonding with water molecules through these pink dashed lines. And the question is asking, what kind of bond is that? And if we understand what hydrogen bonds are, then we can apply our learning of hydrogen bonds to a new situation like this one with the hydration of urea. Okay, and so now we're getting beyond that, just I memorized a fact, into I'm starting to understand and maybe apply this to a new situation. And again, if I repeated this exact same question, we would no longer be at a higher level Bloom's, we'd be down back to remembering. Okay, we don't even need to understand something in order to remember. And that, if anyone has done that to you in your academic career, you have been cheated out of your time and money, because this is not learning. And especially in this day and age where the internet is at our fingertips and we have, right, AI that can just spit back facts to us when we want. So what kind of questions am I going to ask you in this course? Well, I'm definitely going to ask you a lot of low-level Bloom stuff because we're trying to get that information into our heads. Okay, we're trying to have some facts that we understand, right? And then once we've got that nice firm foundation, we can start to build on top of that. Okay, and so instead of just knowing what and where things are, we can start to think about, well, how and why do these things happen? And then, whoa, every once in a while, I'm gonna throw at you, what in the heck am I looking at? Or what if this happened? What would then occur? So those are the kind of questions that you're going to be faced with in this class. And really, we're going to stay kind of lower level. Bloom's getting up a little bit into that middle area of Bloom's because this is a sophomore level course, and that's absolutely where we should be. Again, I'm trying to get you up to that really high level Bloom's, right? So that you can be successful on those entrance exams, things like MCATs and right, GRE, etc. Okay, trying to get you up into that area where you know, that skill set's going to be required. So again, let's talk now. Okay, let's say you get through those exams. Well, then what? This idea of C's earned degrees, but do they earn and keep jobs? We've talked about, right, labor statistics. That the Labor Department does have statistics, and here are some of those data. What is this graph showing us? Okay, on the x-axis, it's time. So historically, right, what kind of categories of jobs exist in what percentage of the workforce? Okay, and so what we're looking at is we're seeing a growth in jobs that require working with new information and solving unstructured problems, and we're seeing a decline in jobs that are routine, manual or non-routine manual tasks, and routine cognitive tasks. So again, right, where is the job? Where are these jobs, you know, going to be in the future? They're going to be in, right, they're going to require these upper level Bloom's taxonomy skills. And so again, that's why we practice what we're practicing in my class. And let's talk money, folks. If none of that, if I have not interested you yet, maybe if we talk about your wallet, I will. Here's some more data from the Labor Department. It has to do again with salaries. And I'm going to put a cutoff right about there because you can see there's sort of a difference between the wages, right? And if you look at those jobs, the kind of skills they require, okay, and it falls neatly into this other graph that we did just look at. So kind of above the line, we're looking at professions that require, again, this critical thinking skills. There's upper level Bloom's taxonomy, working with new information and solving unstructured problems, right? And then you can see right below the line, we're going to have a lot more of that routine, non-routine manual tasks, routine cognitive tasks. And so what does this mean for dollar bills? Obviously the salaries are nicer, right? Higher above this line and they're lower below the line. Okay, all these jobs are important, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to say they're not as common, right? And in our workforce to have these routine and non-routine manual tasks and cognitive tasks. So those jobs may be even more competitive because there's just not that many of them. And we have a need. We have a need for folks who can, you know, practice those upper level Bloom's taxonomy skill with success. And we're going to pay them. If you look at life, physical, and social science occupations, healthcare practitioners and technical occupations, which covers most of you, I think as far as your career goals, those are some nice salaries there compared to, right, other things on this list. Okay, so it's, you know, this is going to impact your wallet in that way. So I want you to be smarter than AI, and I want you to be able to solve problems. And it requires the practice of metacognition. And what I want you to do right now is, if you don't know what metacognition means, look it up. Pause the video, look it up, and then I want you to think about a time that you yourself engaged in metacognition. Okay. So, right, what is metacognition? It's thinking about thinking. And, you know, let's say you're struggling with a particular concept in the course. How do you know? Well, you took a quiz and you missed a question or two on that particular concept. And, you know, you start thinking, okay, well, I thought, you know, this process was, you know, went like this. And that's why I chose these answers. But those answers are wrong. Now I need to figure out, well, why are the correct answers correct? So let me go back to how I thought I understood this complex problem and think about where I was thinking about it wrong. a lot of thinking about thinking, metacognition, right? Going back and really, analyzing our thought process and ensuring that we do kind of understand things correctly. So you're going to need to practice that metacognition. And I'm going to make you, because everything is very structured. And as a scientist, I turn to other scientists to help me out. I'm certainly not an educational psychologist, but Dr. Sandra McGuire is, and she has posted and shared this idea of the study cycle. Okay. Being a successful student, being a successful learner is not magic. There's a defined series of steps to take, and if you take them, you're going to be successful. Here they are. I don't think anything here is going to be surprising. Let's preview, right, what we do before we actually kind of attend class. And I get it. This is an online asynchronous class. What does attending class mean? Well, I'm really viewing those class activities delivered through Top Hat as kind of the bulk of your class work. So consider that you're going to class. Afterward, there's reviewing and studying. And now this is key. Listen up. Many students do not understand that there are two different activities here, reviewing and studying. Many people think they are studying when in fact they are reviewing. So what is reviewing? Oh, kind of going over my notes from class, kind of going over some things. Oh, okay, yeah, I get, I didn't really get that. I got this, great. That's reviewing. That's not studying. Studying is, okay, I didn't really get that bit. Here's this maybe student learning outcome provided by Dr. DeMars that I am unable to meet. I am going to have an intense study session, and maybe it's only 10 minutes, okay? But it's intense and it's focused on meeting that particular SLO. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to the textbook. I'm going to go back. I'm going to read all the comments or questions, right? I am going to go back to, right, the reading quiz. I'm going to look at any questions about that. I'm going to go to the in-class activities. I'm going to rework those, right? I'm going to, and then if I'm still really confused, I can reach out to Dr. DeMars and we can have a Zoom conference and we can talk, right, about that particular, right, SLO. That is the studying, okay? And then lastly, assessment. Now, assessments don't just mean exams, because how many times have I heard a student say, oh, I thought I knew that, when they were reviewing their exam, right? After the fact, after they've taken it, after they've missed the question, oh, I thought I knew that. And it's like, oh, geez, I wish you knew you didn't know it before the exam. And so that's why I give all the quizzes, right? Those review quizzes are meant to kind of check yourself before you wreck yourself on the exam, okay? It's to raise any red flags before the exam of like, oops, this is what we need to go back and study before the exam. So you'll find even within, right, the in-class, right, those Top Hat class activities, I'm constantly asking you, do you get this? Do you get this? Do you get this? Do you get this? In many different ways, right? It'll be a matching exercise. It'll be a multiple choice. It'll be a fill in the blank. But I'm getting you to give me feedback on your learning to see, are you getting these questions right? Or are you still struggling? And if you are, that's okay. Let's work on that, okay? You get that feedback prior to the exam. Okay, so we've defined that study cycle, and I want you to think about your typical class sort of prep, your class work, what you do for a class, and think about how it aligns with the study cycle. You're welcome to share. I'm not asking you to, okay, necessarily, but I want you to take a few moments, pause the video, and think about it. When I poll this in class face-to-face, most students tell me B. They tell me that, I do some of this. And that's cool, okay, and that's probably you. And what I would say is, if you want to do well in the course, it needs to be A. All right, that's the hard truth. You can't half-ass this. You can't hack it. You've got to use all of the resources. I give you all these resources because all of them are helpful. It's not a buffet for you to pick and choose which resource. Oh, I'm going to do really well on this particular reading quiz, but not on that module's reading quiz. I'm going to focus more on the review quiz. No. All of it, all the time, is going to help you succeed in the course. So really, you need to be A right here if you want to be that A student. Okay, so we're almost done here, folks. Thank you so much for your paying attention, for those of you that are. Let's talk about this general course structure in this next coming month, because it's fast and furious. I want you to know what you're getting into right from the beginning. It's a lot, but again, there's a lot of repetition, so it should start to feel very familiar, okay? There's a reading assignment. After the reading assignment or during the reading assignment, there's a list of reading learning outcomes that should direct your annotations in perusal. Don't be annotating a section that doesn't have a learning outcome, an RLO associated with it. You're wasting your time. That's not the point. How many times do I hear, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to read. I don't know what I'm supposed to focus on. Those RLOs will tell you. Okay. And then once you're done, you take a timed reading quiz graded for correctness. Okay. And folio. And that's kind of that, right, prep work. Sort of the attending or in class, that middle of the module, as I call it, is the those enormously complex top hat class activities. I've generated all this material, all these questions, all the activities, all of it's mine. It's not from some kind of test data bank from some publisher. It's all my work. This is my experience to help teach you. And those top hat class activities are going to help you get really involved. And there's a list of student learning outcomes, right? There might be 1 to 5 sort of learning outcomes and then a set of activities. And then there's, again, a couple of student learning outcomes and then a set of activities tied to that. You'll see them interspersed appropriately throughout the top hat activity itself. And they'll be bolded in blue. Okay. And that's how you'll know that's your study guide. And then right at the end of the module is that review quiz. We know how important now that assessment piece is. Let's get that done before, right, the exam. And those questions are tied directly to the student learning outcomes, as are the exam questions. So the student learning outcomes, again, your study guide. And remember, we're going to start over for the next module. So as I said earlier, reading assignment, reading quiz, in class, sort of class activities, and then review quiz. So pretty much done this particular activity for you, but I give you a moment to kind of pause the video and make some matching here, which part of the course design matches up with that study cycle that, again, the experts have told us is the best way to be a successful student. And here I've done it for you. You can see, right, reading assignments, reading quizzes, where you're going to locate all these things, right, to give you an idea of that course structure and that it is designed within the study cycle framework. Now, I don't know if you've heard me. Okay. It's long. This is a long video, right? It's a lot of your time. I don't know if I've convinced you to buy in. But I tried to with data, and I tried to talk to your wallet, and I tried to talk to your interests. Okay. Again, I hope that, maybe we can right, get you on board with being excited about being in this class. And hopefully we started to build a community, right, with each other, at least one way from me. You're hearing some real talk, that I am your ally while we navigate this really hard and challenging material. And I've told you why. I'm not going to oversimplify things just for you to memorize, because I want you to get your money's worth out of this. Okay. And I provided a lot of structure and support to help us make good choices. And so again, you're not alone. You are encouraged to work with others on that perusal platform. And, I'm everywhere in the course design, and certainly accessible via email and Zoom conferencing. And I just want to take a moment, to say again that we expect mistakes. I expect you to make mistakes. I do not expect you to be perfect the first time around. I do not expect this to come easy, right? I don't know who those people are, if that's, they're out there, I guess, but I don't know. They're not interesting to me because I can't really help them. They don't. If people don't need help, then I have no role. But I expect my students to need help and to ask for it. Okay, some more real talk. Let's talk a little bit about grades, because again, we know students don't do work if a grade's not associated with it. So everything in this class is important. Everything in this class that is important, which is everything, has a grade associated with it. And again, we saw those grades at the beginning of the syllabus, at the beginning of this video. All right, you can see reading assignments, reading quizzes, class activities, and review quizzes and exams all have grades associated with them. But let's look a little bit more into that. Let's dig into that a little bit more. So reading assignments usually take about 1 to 2 hours. And I know this because the system tracks students, right? And so I've asked students, like, how many hours do you spend on reading assignments? And they say, 10. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't, because the system is tracking. So about 1 to 2 hours per assignment, and there are 18 modules, that's 18 assignments. Reading quizzes, these it can have a lot of questions between 10 and 30. And again, it's because they're on like little facts, this fact, this fact, this fact, basic stuff. And again, there are 18 modules. There are 18 of these quizzes. I do want to say right here at this point, I see a lot of students get really upset because they don't get hundreds on their reading quizzes. And I just want to make sure that I can hopefully avoid that negativity at the beginning by intervening and telling you, I don't expect hundreds here. This is you and the perusal community, so other students, with a challenging text, trying to figure it out. And yes, the questions are straightforward. They're very low level blooms at this point because it is just y'all, okay? But I don't expect you to get everything right away. The idea of these reading quizzes is to say like, hey, there's still a few things that are challenging for me. And I've been doing this class long enough that I've designed the course activities on Top Hat to really address those common problematic areas. Okay, so it is okay if you're scoring in the 80s and 90s on those reading quizzes. That's kind of what I expect. I don't expect hundreds. Anything less than 80s or 90s, something's going on. Maybe you're not reading the assignment very carefully. Maybe you're not taking enough time on the quiz. I don't know. Okay, but shoot in those 80s and 90s, okay? And hopefully I can set right the expectation for that now and save your frustration and disappointment later. Class activities, again, 1 to 2 hours per assignment. How do I know this? Because I used to run those class activities on Top Hat live with students during class. So I know how long they take. 1 to 2 hours, depending upon the module and the assignment. And again, there's 18 of those. And then there's 18 review quizzes that are shorter, 5 to 11 questions per quiz. And then, of course, there are 4 exams. And I want to point out there is a typo here that each exam is worth 15% for a total of 60% for the exams. All right. So lastly, right, I just want to talk about, again, you can try to hack this. It's not a good idea. We've talked about why. Please don't cheat. Maybe take all that energy and just try to learn this material. And just let you know, you chose to be here. Again, please don't take out any frustration on me. Remember, I am your ally. I'm committed to making this course interesting for you, to show you the value of the course. And I really, right, the first thing I said to you is I want you to succeed. The last thing I'm saying is I want you to succeed. Well, not the very last. Very last thing I'm going to say to you is about homework, okay, to make sure you're completing everything that you need to for the module. You should have already done probably your attendance verification. Again, do it as soon as possible. You can wait until Friday at 11:59 p.m., but please do it sooner. Same thing with that syllabus assignment on perusal. Please get it done ideally by the end of day Tuesday, June 20th, but you have until 11:59 p.m. Friday. Same thing with this video. And then those things should be done before the course preparation quiz. Okay, that's the last thing that should be done. It's listed last in the module itself, right? On folio, there are 50 some points, okay, on this quiz, and it's, over everything in that syllabus assignment, things we've talked about in this video. And again, please do that ideally by the end of day Tuesday, June 20th. But the final deadline is the end of day Friday. And again, we're going to start course content next. That's what's coming. Module 1, exam 1, module 1 is going to begin on Wednesday, tomorrow, June 21st. It is not ready yet. Also, too, let me just say, don't expect for things to be ready early. As you can tell, it is just at 12 o'clock. I need to post this video to the class website. Yeah, and this is kind of how the class is going. I mean, I'm going to be getting things done as soon as I can, but do not expect that the whole course is ready for you to just take at your own pace. That's not what the expectation is for this online asynchronous course, okay? But I will try to get things ready as soon as possible because I know, again, you are trying to juggle a lot. Anyway, thank you so much. Please do not hesitate to read the entire syllabus and then reach out if you have questions or concerns and, about any policies in the course. Like I said earlier, I'm really looking forward to working with you this month.